Well, the old anemometer there was really, whoo! It doesn't show it there too much. And that anemometer is near accurate. One time it zipped up there to about over 50 miles an hour. It's showing 20, 30 miles an hour now, but it's howling. There you can see that, the horizontal spray again. Well, things are a little different right now than they were when you saw those pictures. Shortly after those pictures, I got a call that there was a plane that wrecked over on Sweet Lucy Lake, about 4 hours hike from here. No one else could go because of those winds. So I had to grab my medical pack and my survival pack and start walking. Boy, the fall colors are nice. Boy, that wind just howls that day when you saw those pictures before, and then yesterday it howled also. Started calming down in the evening a little bit. But yeah, right after those pictures, our dang radios aren't working very good when it's really windy. I think some of these up on the top of these mountains, it just blows them so bad it shakes them. And I started getting radio calls from Port Alsworth. I couldn't understand what they were wanting. And finally, I just hear little bits and pieces, and then I would ask yes and no questions, and then they would click their microphone twice if it was a yes, and they wouldn't do anything if it was a no, and ended up determining that there was a plane crash over on Sweet Lucy Lake, which is about 4 hours from here. It's just the name of the lake they call, well, it's just east of Snipe Lake, about a mile. And I ended up finding out that was turned upside down, and they couldn't, no one could fly because they was blowing about 75, 80 miles an hour down at Port Alsworth. They had clots, so they couldn't fly. And so I was the only one that could get over there. And I had about, it was about a 4 or 5 hour walk from here if you're just walking, but I made it, I think, in about 4.5 hours. So this was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you saw it was just howling. So I grabbed my pack with put my just quick overnight gear, some meals, and some of those Army meals we got, and sleeping bag, pad and tent, and my medical bag, the trauma kit, and flashlight, and I knew I'd probably be traveling in the dark. And so I took off here to the east, or to the west rather, and been around these mountains, and then there's another mountain on over there, 6 or 7 miles, and I run around the north and west side of it, and down there is Sweet Lucy Lake. And so right about dark, I top off the ridge, and I could glass down, and I could see the lake, and I could see the float sticking out of the water, and there's a little cabin over there. It's just a real tiny little cabin they built back years and years ago, that mostly plywood with looks like old metal gas cans on the outside of it to keep the porcupines from chewing holes through it. And it's about a 1/4 mile from the lake because there's no timber around the lake. So I got down there just right at dark, around about 10 o'clock at night. Sun sets at about 9 now, a little before 9 actually. And there was another hunting party there, and I got there and asked if everybody was okay, and everybody was okay. But the one hunting party was at the little cabin, wasn't the one that was in the plane. They were ones that were in the plane were camped down by the lake and had broke camp, and we're going to try to take off. There was another airplane that came in, an air taxi, a beaver, the Haviland beaver, and had loaded up all their meat and took that out, and so they figured they could try it to make it too. So they started to take off, and plane, the way I got it, they came up on one float a little bit to get off, and then nosed over and flipped the plane, and they were able to get out okay. With, I guess the pilot, later on I heard, they weren't really quite telling me the whole story, and I wasn't, as long as they were alright, I figured they could tell it to somebody else. They had to go back down and get the pilot out, and he was about drowned, and they got him up on the float and pounded him and got him breathing again, and did some artificial resuscitation. But then they were stuck out in the middle of the lake, and they had to wait till the plane floated near shore to swim, and because they were getting pretty cold by then, and so I guess they were on the floats for a half an hour, 45 minutes, until they could. The plane finally, it was upside down, and the top of, the cabin of the plane grounded on the bottom, and they were still out. Oh, they were still out quite a ways, probably 30, 40 yards, and then they had to swim from there. And they were real cold, and then they got up to this cabin and got a fire going, and we're okay by the time I got there. And one guy, the pilot, he had a bad cough. He'd taken some water in his lungs and probably get a little tad bit of pneumonia, but nothing I could really do for him. And so after I checked him out, after about an hour or so, I set up my tent and went to sleep, but that was pretty hard. 2 days before that, well, you saw where we hiked up to Low Pass, so I was kind of tired anyway from those 2 days of hiking. And then I'd been out on that 5-day, I actually been out on the coast for a week and hadn't slept that good, and so the next morning, Lake Margarette came in. It was still blowing hard, but they landed, and they took the guys out 2 at a time. But then they said it was too windy to come back and get me, so yesterday I just walked back. Had a headwind then. I got back here about 7 o'clock at night or so. Got off all my sweaty clothes and got a good bath and ate some good supper and laid down in my nice good bed and went to sleep. But and then it was rainy this morning, and I wrote up some stuff and kind of took it easy a little bit. Now this afternoon, the plane just came in a little while ago, and that guy stopped and visited for a while. The park plane, and they just left. I guess they were up here. They flew over there getting that helicopter out today. Boy, we should have got a chance to get up there and see that, but I didn't know they were going to do it today. It was kind of fogged in this morning, but it really turned off pretty nice this afternoon. The guy up at Tahlequah just said that it was rainy and low ceiling and low visibility up there right now, but it must be breaking up there now, I would think. But nice evening now, boy, sitting there in the sunshine. Actually, yesterday, in the evening when I was hiking back, it was not too bad. When I went over there, I was walking pretty hard and not stopping, trying to get over there, because I wanted to get over there as quick as possible, and also I wanted to go over there before it got too dark, so if they weren't up at that cabin, I can find them. So it took me about 5 hours or so to get back yesterday. I wasn't. I stopped. It was actually get down out of the wind a little bit. It did get it was a little bit where there was sun was out a little bit. So I kind of. And when I slept in my little tent that night before, boy, it was just, boy, it was howling, and that tent was flapping, and I just thrown it up in the dark, and it wasn't on a very level spot or anything, so I didn't sleep very well the night before. So. But if that captain hadn't been there and those guys, those other hunters hadn't been there, those guys have been in a bad way. I would have been, they would have, if they hadn't got a fire going or got where it was warm, they would have, well, one guy would have probably not made it, and the other ones may not either. So if they hadn't have been at that little cabin, they would have been real happy to see me, because I had plenty of matches and stuff to start a fire and everything, and warm liquids for them to drink, and sleeping bag and tent. And we'd have got a big fire going. But so it turned out real good. I wasn't looking forward. I thought, well, you might have somebody all smashed up, and that could be kind of unpleasant. Having to deal with somebody all night long that's really tore up or something. So it turned out about as good as it could, except that I had to walk back. But that's okay. I might have to go and pick some berries this evening. Well, it's turned out to be nice. Well, I think I'm going to go in there and listen to the news a second.